Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, and I've got a great guest, but we just had so much fun talking. I'm not going to look at him for like a minute or two, because if I look at him, I'm going to just explode with laughter like I'm about 8 years old, and I've got the sniffles. That's how hard I'm laughing. So we're with the one and only Jerry Becker. He's got a great story. He's a super talented guy, and he's a really cool guy with a great sense of humor. If you don't know Jerry, he's a multi-instrumentalist and a producer. Right now, he's living in Berkeley. He's currently the keyboardist, guitarist, and music director of the Grammy Award-winning multi-platinum band Train. He spent the last 12 years exclusively touring all over the world and recording the last 7 Train albums. He's received numerous RIAA certified gold and platinum albums. He carries them with me, just showed me the whole collection. No, I'm just kidding.
It hurts my back.
This is nonsense. He's also, I'm sorry, everybody. He's also contributed to Train songwriting. He's won an ASCAP Music and Television Award for the TV theme song to The Biggest Loser in 2013. Oh my God.
I am the biggest loser.
I am the biggest loser right now, let me tell you. He grew up in North Olmsted, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland, as you all know. The youngest of, check this out, 9 kids. Wow, that I should be interviewing, that's amazing.
No, don't talk to any of them.
I want the whole Becker.
Let me correct that, though. I'm a twin, so there's 8. I'm 8 of 9, but we're at the end.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Imagine that, we're done. It's 2.
Yeah, we have 7 kids, and then they just. Well, I got a story for that too. That didn't even make sense. Yeah.
His parents and several of his siblings were very musical. Jerry started on drums, moved to piano, and then guitar. So, man, let me ask you right now: what is growing up with 8 siblings like?
It's the worst. No, no, man. My everything I have is my family. They made me become the musician and the person that I am. It's the idea that I think even being the baby, it was even easier because I was able to watch all of them do things and then kind of decide which thing I wanted to do in a good way. They taught me everything, man. They taught me from the Beatles to smoking weed,
both very important, and
soccer and anything, whatever it was. It's like, it's really fun to watch people do it ahead of you, and to kind of be on the sidelines until you're actually called into the game, and then you're like, I'm going to do it. Let's see what's going on. And then I can fail and there's people around you to help you if you fail,
What's the biggest spread between you and your oldest sibling?
16 years.
Oh, that's not bad actually. So you at least know him or her.
Oh yeah. Really well. My sister Katie, I think, was 16 when I was born, but she, stayed close, went to Ohio State, and then we were able to still, even though there was a point where there were 11 of us at the house for a while, and then within a few years, she would move out and people would come in. It was basically like living in a hotel,
Wow, that's
But it was great because it was a loud hotel. It was there were drums, bass, everything, piano. You know, it was the coolest place to grow up. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know people only had 2 kids. You know.
You know what? Yeah, I could. So that was your norm.
Yeah, so it was great. I have no complaints, and we're all very close still, which is an interesting thing.
That is.
Maybe I think we're close.
No, you know. So where do you guys? Is there like a once or twice a year, or once a year where you all get together or try to?
There's so many kids and so many grandkids and so many weddings and things that happen that we do still get together a couple times a year if we can.
Where is everybody mostly? Are they back in Ohio?
They're mostly still back in Ohio. Yeah, 6 of them are there. My sister's Katie's in Florida. My brother's with me out in California. He's a big reason that I moved to California.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that way he was already out there for about 14 years before I moved.
Wow.
So I had a little bit of foundation when I went out there with $500 in
and a dream, $500 in a dream.
I don't know that I had a dream. I just kept hearing about California, you know. So and it worked out, man. That shit doesn't work out, and it worked out.
Yeah, it doesn't work out a lot. Hey, well, you said you had a funny story about your twin.
Well, you know, in the 70s, I don't even think they did ultrasounds back then. You know, they didn't even know that my mom was having twins. How can you have 7 kids?
Oh my God.
And then you show up and then I come out and, you know, I think they even said I came out and then they said, well, this Gerald Thomas Becker, you know, if you were going to have another kid, what were you going to name it? My mom goes, Sarah Jane. And they go, well, you can use that too.
Like so your twin is a sister.
Yeah.
That is wild, man.
That might be the worst doctor I've ever heard in my life.
But wait, there's more. I mean, like, holy shit.
There might even be more in there. Who knows right now?
Oh my God. That's amazing, man.
Did she not do any OB appointments through the whole pregnancy?
Yeah. Man, well, God bless both your parents because, you know, I've got 3 and it's overwhelming. I mean, God, that's just
it's great. I have no complaints. We have a family text that we've been together for years on.
Oh, that's so cool.
I stay in touch with them more than anybody. I mean, we talk every day. Everybody does. There's always a joke. There's something going on.
That's awesome.
So it's nice because I do know people that have 2 siblings and they can't stand each other. You know?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So it's fascinating.
That's great, man. I'm really glad you have that because I can't imagine the support you get from that.
That's good.
After high school, Jerry went to Cleveland Institute of Art on a scholarship. He was always a painter, an illustrator, and he continues to paint. What kind of stuff do you paint?
It's abstract. You know, if you ask my wife, she's like, oh, there you go, painting all your shapes again. You know, like it's not as, I don't know, man. I've always just doodled, but then I had an art teacher that was really great. And he said, Jerry, I'm tired of the doodles. Make it big. Like go do something 10 feet by 10, you know, and he was Mr. Sherdell. He was a guy. And I thought about mentors in my life. I know some of the questions you had asked and I don't have enough of them, but he definitely was a guy that, even though he didn't push me musically, he actually told me to get away from music and thought that I should paint.
That's awesome though, man.
And he told me to make a decision one day. I thought that was funny. What's it going to be, man? Art or music? And I was like, I don't know, man. You know, I think I'm going to do music. But I don't know that you have to do both. You know, I think luckily I've had some time off the last couple months and I painted more than I have in 6 years, you know?
That's great, man.
So it's been it's been great. I don't know. I just paint anything. I don't do landscapes. I don't do portraits. I don't do that. It's really just big doodles. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. I think it's hard to serve 2 masters was what he was saying, you know?
A little bit. And I think I think he was right. But I definitely, I couldn't do all of it. I always felt exhausted trying to do too much because I couldn't make any money doing art. That's the reason I moved to California. I thought I could make more money, but
doing art. Interesting.
I was terrible at invoicing, you know, like I just sit.
I could do the work. I just, to get paid for it. Yeah. This is like, you know, I've run a marketing company 20 years and I've talked to, you know, close to 500 musicians at this point. You guys are like allergic
to send the bill in.
Nobody wants to sell, market, get paid. It's like, you know.
No, it's such a strange thing. It's such a weird feeling because I would be hired to do these huge murals at these cafes and stuff, and I would want them to be right, and I'd work on them for weeks, and I ended up making $6 an hour working on them because I didn't work on my time well, you know. But I loved it in the end. I always liked it. I just didn't make enough money to make it worth a career, you know.
Sure. Well, good that you have that, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
In 94, Jerry, as he said, moved out to California to live with his brother George, who'd already been there for 14 or 15 years. Jerry was still painting and playing in a cover band, and he met his future wife, Emily, in Half Moon Bay within 6 months of moving from Ohio. And you just told me you guys are still together, man.
Oh, yeah, 20, whatever that is, 25 years? 20, yeah.
That was when, 94?
Is that right? You do the math. I can't do that.
94.
I met her in 94. We got together in 95. So I would say that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Carry the one and like something like 24 years. Yeah. That's really cool, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, for 17 this year, I believe.
That's awesome. 24 years. I've been with my wife 26. So that's I know, yeah, it's a long time and very long time.
Yeah, it's great. She's the best thing. She's the thing that kept me grounded in California and grounded in life. And she keeps me, makes me better. Yeah, she's awesome.
Very cool, man.
I forget her name, but I know she's great now. Her name's Emily.
So is that why you went out to California to paint, or originally, like what prompted you to move?
I was in a band, in Cleveland that was struggling. Everything's struggling, even when you're doing well, it still seems like it's struggling. But we were called Liver Zoo. It was a weird fusion kind of horn playing, Chili Peppers, terrible kind of funk thing in the mid 90s or early 90s. And it broke up. I couldn't find the guys that I wanted to be with, even though they were good. Everybody was talented, but it was just like, who wants to do this for real? I think my drummer was one of the most talented people I've ever met, but he became a Jehovah's Witness. And it's like, there were all these like factors.
So he kept knocking on your door or something? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What's the joke? What's the joke? How do you know a drummer's knocking on the door? They go like this. Like
I'm sorry. I had to say, because in New York City, man, like,
yeah, that's a good joke.
They would be knocking every day.
Everything became the religion, and I'm not going to be weird about religion, but it affected my band. I really wanted to just be serious. And he was so talented, and you just meet people. Each band just got better and better. And then that band, when it finally broke up, and a girlfriend that I was seeing we ended it too. It's like I had to get out. I knew the one day that I was in Cleveland pushing my amp through the snow for a really terrible gig. And then I just remember the slush and like pushing it going, it's got to be better than this. There has to be something better than this. This is a nightmare, And I remember telling my mom and saying, hey, can I call George? I really got to go to California, at least for the summer. I got to just go visit, And I remember it was kind of heartbreaking to her because I knew in the back of her head, she goes, I don't think he's got room for you. I don't think he wants you to go. I don't think he's not, that's not a good idea.
Oh, she don't want a baby leaving, man.
Now looking back, I was like, oh my gosh. And that's so sad to think like she knew that I would never come back,
Yeah.
And man, how do you compare? Cleveland's wonderful, but California was just like, it was another planet.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And it worked out. I was lucky enough to go out there, and he had a great big house because he had done pretty well in tech already in the 90s. So he had room for me. He had young kids, and I was able to help them kind of while he would go to work, and I'd hang out with the kids. I'd work, and
cool.
we play music all the time. He's a great guitar player, bass player, everything. So that was a huge thing too, to come out and really get weird about guitar, and get weird about music.
But I give you credit though, man, because so many people say, oh, I can't stand where I live, blah, blah, blah. Hey man, they got airplanes.
Right. You know what? For someone who travels 200,000 miles a year, I wasn't on an airplane. When's the first time I took a flight? I was 19 years old.
When you went to California. Yeah.
I went first to visit my friend Mike, and then drove back from California. But to think that you can go 19 years without getting on a plane, like how does that exist?
No, I don't think I was on a plane until about that.
Okay, so that's not that weird.
No, it's not. I mean, if it's like demographics dictate, if you probably grew up in an affluent family, you probably been on a plane earlier. If you didn't, if you got middle class or blue collar, maybe not so much. Yeah, or low class, not so much.
My kids, they were on a plane. They had passports when they were, a year old. They were going to Europe at 2 and 3. I mean, they have no idea how cool they have it.
Yeah, different world, man.
But yeah, I think we drove everywhere. My parents would rent an RV, and we'd go to Illinois. I would wake up with my buddies at 17, 18 years old. We'd drive to New York to see jellyfish or something.
This is cool.
like we were diehard music people that if there was a show going on in Manhattan, I would leave from Cleveland.
That's awesome. Why not?
We'd go see a band and turn around and drive home.
That's wild.
7 hours.
I think that's great though, man. That's real healthy. I would encourage people to get my kids to have done that if they wanted to do so. It's really good.
Yeah. So that Cleveland was great for all the character building and everything. And I still love it. I go back, and everybody that's back there. It's not that I think all people should leave Cleveland. It's just the industry was weird. Even though they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there and everything, man, it is a tough place to be a musician.
Yeah.
It's just people go, oh, the rock, like it's a little funny when you're from there. You're like, where was all the support?
Yeah, right.
Shows. There was no, you know what I'm saying? The local music scene was rough. Like how many people do you know who were from Cleveland, musicians?
Actually, I know two. Do you know Mark Chatfield? He's a little older than us.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't know him well, but
from the Gods.
Yeah,
and Rosie.
But I'm being serious. Like
and
we got Chris
Dave Baker.
Yeah, exactly.
You know Dave Baker?
I know the name. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
He went to not Cleveland Institute of Art, but the conservatory in Cleveland for music or something like that. Yeah.
I know the guitar player for Rob Thomas, Frank Romano's from there. People are from there, but they get out for Nine Inch Nails. I used to buy. He worked at Pi Keyboard and Audio, like this guy Trent Reznor worked there. I remember.
No, really?
To buy. I'm pretty sure he was the guy that we would go there and buy stuff when we needed keyboard MIDI cables and stuff.
It was Trent Reznor working there. That's pretty funny.
I remember all of us were into hair metal, and I was into Warren and Skid Row and all this rock stuff, and all of us grew our hair out. And I remember one day we were at this the Agora, some club, listening to something, and in between bands, this is, I don't know what year it was, early 90s, I guess. In between bands, I heard Nine Inch Nails for the first time.
That's good stuff, man.
And whether or not I loved it, it sounded nothing like anything else that we were doing, and it changed the sound of what was coming out of the speakers. It almost sounded like the speakers were broken. Right? It was just this industrial, and it was the coolest thing ever. It changed everything. And then of course Nirvana and everything else killed everything that we were doing, because we were just into that thing. Everyone wanted to be Bon Jovi. In '87, it wasn't a bad thing to like Bon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It wasn't a bad thing to be wanting to be Bon Jovi or to like Bon Jovi.
No, that's how I learned Slippery When Wet. I learned how to play all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Fast forward, I got to play Howard Stern's Birthday Party with Bon Jovi.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you. Yeah, that was like.
Wait a minute. Was that out?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell me that. Let me just make a note of that, because I want to hear that.
No, I think some of the questions were like, what were some of the gigs of your life? That show, man, I know we can fast forward to that, but man, those are those weird moments where you go, how am I sitting on my porch learning how to play Richie Sambora's part, to looking at John going, hey man, is this it? And he's like, yeah, sounds good. That's it. And
that's pretty cool, man.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't belong there, because there were 1,000 other guitar players that, play circles around me. But some people just always wanted the guy that would just play the part, Yeah,
but it's not about every guitar player I speak to can say the same thing. You're there because of the hang, because of the, it's like, why do you put in the time?
I think so, but I screwed around a lot too. I mean, I did play. It was all about the basement, and it's all about teaching my son, who's 12 now, Julian. He's a completely incredible musician. I know he is, and I can't wait for him to blow up with it. He's playing violin right now, but man, the grit, the thing that I had was I just wanted to go to the basement every day after school and just shred and just play everything and take in every song and try to figure out what they're doing, and get through it and sit down there for 5 or 6 hours, and, my son plays Fortnite there. He's getting real good at it.
That's awesome, man. That's really good.
But I want him to get real good at whatever, and I know he's going to be, mountains above where I am. Like, his ear is better than mine already, so I've been practicing his perfect pitch. I don't know that I think he has it, but every time he can call out a note, and I still can't call out a note, and I worked on it with him since he was 3 or 4 years old, and he'll walk in a room and he'll sing E, A, D, he'll do it all. I don't know. That stuff blows me away.
That is pretty cool, man.
We just got to get him. We got to get him an Ibanez and let him start shredding. Right?
Instead of a violin. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's killing on it. He plays piano and everything. He's wonderful. Everything. And my daughter's playing piano too. Lila, she's 7, and yeah, I'm trying with the next generation here to class it up a bit.
You're doing fine. It's so funny when your kids are little, like my kids are older, and like your mindset changes. Like you love them, you miss them, but you're glad they're out of the house. And it's kind of, I hate to say that. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. I do miss them because I am gone so much that when I see them, it's great. But I have been home a lot the last couple of months. This has been the best time. Like definitely a high point of even my career because I have been able to enjoy it a bit.
That's good, man. Again, you put the time in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the biggest break we've had, and it's really going to make for a great tour because we just needed to regroup a little bit.
Awesome, man.
So it's good.
Okay, so you're in California. Tell me like the series of events that led you to meeting Pat Monahan, who's a singer of Train, and then getting involved with him in the band.
So I worked when my wife got transferred. She's a tennis player in college, and she got recruited to play in Sonoma State. And I moved with her. We get an apartment near her college, and there was a music store in town. I had already, I forgot what I was doing. I worked for Samick Guitars. Remember that company?
Samick, yeah.
Yeah, this Korean-built guitar thing. It was really super weird, but it ended up being great because I got to sit and play guitar all day and demo stuff. So I had a little bit of, kind of some tech stuff. I learned a little bit about, guitars. I worked at a store called Stars Music, and I was probably 23, 24. I don't know. I was pretty young. And Pat's wife used to come in actually to the store with his 5-year-old. And I was pretty chill. I would let anybody play anything in the store. I didn't care, hey, I'll set the drums up. I'll play keyboard with you. I'll do anything you want. And it was my way of selling.
Yeah.
If I needed to be on the sales floor, I didn't care. And he would come in a lot because they lived right around the corner. So this little 5-year-old, I just let him go crazy in there, right? And then his wife would say, it's his ex-wife now, but she would say at the time, hey, you should see my husband's band play. You should see my husband's band. I'm like, all right. And I never put the two together. And then one day, this guy walks in and his hair's down to his waist and he's got this hat on. And I just remember him having this super intense vibe and super intense look. I'd never seen anybody like this guy before. And he's like, hey man, you guys got saxophones in this store? And I'm like, yeah, they're in back. Let's go look at them. And then he had a Pittsburgh Steelers hat on. And I remember going, hey man, I just want to let you know that the Steelers suck.
Nice.
It was the first thing I said to this guy.
Oh, you're a Cleveland Browns fan, I'm assuming.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was probably the best thing I could have ever said. And then we just started laughing, and he said, oh, I play in a band. I was like, cool. And then I put the two together that was his wife that came in. And then next thing you know, he had said, come out and see a show. And then I saw their show. And I remember that night. I liked the guys in the band a lot, but I remember that night, seeing the show, and they played Meet Virginia. They played all the songs. They were already a band. This was 97, I think. It's before they signed with Columbia and everything, but they were already playing those songs. Tiny club, In at the Beginning is what it was called. There was maybe 40
this is in
This is up in Northern California, Novato, Catati area is what it is. It's between Santa Rosa and Novato. It's kind of an hour north of San Francisco.
Okay. And
next thing you know, I heard this guy's voice. Are you kidding me? He had the greatest voice I'd ever heard, for a rock singer, and they had a pretty dumpy show. It was weird. And I just remember in my brain, pointing at their rhythm guitar player saying, I'm going to kick that guy out of the band at some point.
Nice.
And it took me a decade, but I ended up getting.
Yeah, but you know what? Don't you think that's the it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, there was a fire but it wasn't that I was going to try to change them in any way. I just wanted to be with him.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, I could do that, and I want that chair, and I'm gonna put that energy out there and see if it happens.
The guitar player, he had a great voice, and he was a writer, and he was already miles ahead of what I was doing. So they belonged together. They were great. And, I ended up becoming friends with all those guys. They hired me. I toured with them actually as a tour manager, if you can believe that. That's the weirdest part of the story, is they brought me on. I couldn't believe it. They fired their sound guy and brought me on the road. And then they got signed to Columbia, and we toured in a van for 2 years.
Did you have experience doing that prior to that?
No, hell no.
So you were just like, hey man, they like to hang.
Yeah, I'd been in bands before, but I'm the worst. I was the worst. I mean, I got along with everybody, but I'm terribly, I'm not organized at all, you know, but they had never had a tour manager. So to them, they're like, this is awesome. Someone's
There was no
take
frame of reference.
Yeah. Until the end, they're probably like, this is a nightmare. And I'm like, yeah, it's a nightmare for me too, you know? So leaving on good terms was the best thing I could have done, even though I probably could have left a year before. They definitely, you know, I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go back to school. I loved being in the studio with the guys working, but not playing. I just loved the vibe of engineering.
Yep.
And I said, I'm going back to school. This is what you know, and they were taking off. They were like blowing up, playing Conan, doing things, you know what I'm saying? So I could kind of like see them sailing, and I knew that I had nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that had to be a tough, like,
that
was,
whole,
yeah. So what was the trigger that finally said, because that's a difficult situation. I'm here. I've been with these guys, paid my dues. I've worked hard. We're all going to go up together. And then you left.
There's always a moment when you know that you're just going to be the guy booking hotels at that point, you know?
Okay.
And so I was like, I can't do this. I have to be part of the creative side of this, you know? And I knew
I give you a lot of credit.
Man, or it was just, I was a terrible tour manager.
No, but I mean, to say, no, it's easier.
Yes, it's easier to say, I'm going to be a part of this. I'm going to stick around and be a guitar tech and just ride this wave. But to be as I hadn't played music in months. Like I knew that I was a player, and I knew that it was crushing, you know, to not be a part of that side of it, but to also say, hey man, you guys need a guy that loves to be here as much as you do, you know?
And it's easy to follow your passion when you have nothing to lose.
Right.
It's not, you had something to lose there. So that was,
I wasn't getting paid great, but it was real money.
Steady income in the music business with a band that's taken off.
Yeah. And to say, I'm good. I'm going to go back.
I mean, I really give you credit, man. That's.
Yeah. Or, you know, it's hard to watch your friends get rich too. Like that's an interesting moment, you know, where they're all a little older than me too. I was much younger than them. So it was kind of an interesting thing to watch people making nothing and then immediately make their first couple $100,000, you know, and then you realize, oh, I'm not going to be included in any of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of that it sounds like a lot of maturity on your part though, that you came to the conclusion that I got to get some skills. I'm not really happy what I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm willing to walk away. How old were you at the time?
24, maybe.
Yeah, those are pretty
25,
good decisions for a 24, 25-year-old person.
I just think that it was perfect. It was perfect for both of them. They needed a guy. They needed good people. They needed a crew. They needed a whole thing. And I got them lost all the time, and I was terrible because I have a bad sense of direction. Ask my wife. I get turned around. I get turned around in a restaurant. I don't even know where the is, you know? So I shouldn't have been in that job other than I really loved hanging out with Columbia Records. I loved Aware Records. I loved meeting everybody along the way. I loved being a part of a band selling 3,000 records out of the back seat of a car with to a platinum record. You know,
that's pretty cool.
To actually watch the sales happen. And I think maybe when I left, that first record was gold. I think it had sold 500,000 or something, and it happened in those year and a half. You know, it was fascinating. And I think watching Pat and those guys go from when I met them, they had already been to New York, and they were going to get signed, and they didn't get signed. And it was like, you can read this in a lot of their stuff, but it was a real moment to watch these five guys sit and say, okay, well, Columbia was going to sign us. They didn't like us. They did a showcase for them, and they passed on them. Right. And it was like, wow, it was heartbreaking. But what they did is they went and financed their own record. Each guy got $1,000 together from family and friends, and they went and made their own record. And I respected that they did that, but it's like, that, you know, to make a $25,000 record nowadays is, you know, whatever. But at the time, that's what they did. And I thought that was so cool that they had their own, you know, CD that was finished. And then Columbia, who had passed on them a year or so before, ended up signing them later and said, now you're ready, you know?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was kind of an interesting, thing to watch happen, like there are going to be those moments of no, there's going to be a couple no, and then who's going to stick around after a couple no's, and yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Well, the other good thing I bet that did for you is, a lot of people think about, I'd like to do this. You saw it happen. And
I could see which side of it sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I know that they were talented. I still know that they're talented, but I know that the Bay Area at that time in the late 90s, 97, 98, 99, this is the .com craze, right? Yeah. So here's a bunch of young entrepreneurs and people who have a ton of money. They need entertainment. And those clubs were packed every night, these rock clubs or these little clubs. Like, you can't pack them anymore now. Something's weird. I mean, it's getting a little better, but I think that because they had, been in San Francisco, it was a great city for a young band like that to blow up, and because a lot of those clubs still exist, and it's very hard to pull in 200 people a night, and these guys were playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh,
you know
wow.
what I mean? They were playing like San Jose, East Bay, Hayward, and then Marin, and then whatever. And I was able to just kind of go, this is strange. I was like, oh, it must be this easy for every band, No.
Yeah.
They were also talented. They were great, But I loved watching them. I loved being a part. I was able to sit in on a lot of sessions just as working with the band, that I loved the studio. And I knew that I recorded because I always had gear and I always had 4 tracks and I always played guitar. And that leaving them, I knew when I moved to Chicago, my wife became a flight attendant. That's why I moved to Chicago.
Okay.
We moved there. United hired her, and I lived there for a year, and I bought some gear and I started recording. And it was like, I knew that made me happy, and I knew being creative and producing or engineering, whatever it was, I knew that I needed to be on the creative side. And I said, I will never tour manage ever again.
Good for you, man. But then, okay, so you moved Ben back to San Francisco, or then to San Francisco.
We got a transfer back about a year later, and we came back, and then I went back to school, and I found this recording program, which really in the end, it was great for me to kind of do it because I liked the law classes, I liked the pop music, history of pop music, and all the stuff that you're going to learn. Because I went to art school and I dropped out because I ran out of money and everything. So for me to actually go to school and really get into it was great. And I was now 27 or 28, and I really liked it. But trying to learn how to engineer a band in a room of 18 people with one Pro Tools thing was a nightmare. You're not going to learn that way. So I started interning and working in studios and trying to really get into that thing. And the whole time I stayed in touch with the band, and Pat would always hit me up. How's it going? You're in school. You let me know when you're done. Let me know when you're done. We'll work together.
That's really cool.
We never had any weird vibes. It was always like at this time, remember, they're going like this.
Yeah.
Just blowing up, So for me, I'm just learning the whole thing. I never thought I would go produce them or ever work with them. I just always knew that I loved making music,
But you must have been, you obviously had talent, because someone doesn't, Pat's not going to sit there and say, obviously you had a friend relationship, but for him to sit and say, hey man, let me know what's going on because we're going to work, that's business.
I think so, but it's that it's years and years. It's not something that it's going to happen overnight. And it did take a long time. It took until he decided to really put the band on hold and do a solo record, like a long time later. Shoot, this is almost 10 years. This is 2006, 2007. And that's when he calls me up. He's like, hey man, I'm going to come and play on my solo album. And then we did that. It was awesome. And that's where I met Luis, who became our guitar player recently. And Luis is phenomenal. He's just,
I got him coming on the show. I forgot who turned me on to him, but Robbie Lochner.
Oh, no shit. I love that. I can tell you, you got it. He's the coolest. He's with the hotel with me today. He's up here.
Oh, that's cool, man.
And I will leave in about an hour to go finish writing up here. So yeah, he's the greatest. The minute you see him play guitar or just be in his presence, he's Randy Rhoads meets Eddie Van Halen meets everybody, but he's the coolest dude.
That's awesome, man.
So I knew when I met him, I was like, man, how cool would this be if we could do this forever, But I remember at that point, Pat always said this joke to us. He's like, I can only hire you guys till Thanksgiving. And this is 2007, right?
What was that?
And this was a tour that we were going to start in like August or something. I remember him because he didn't know how the record was going to go.
Oh, okay.
And it was just such a funny moment that he goes, "I can only hire you." Like I can confirm that you have work for me till Thanksgiving. And I remember we were on a plane together and we looked at each other, and this is what, 12 years ago. And I remember him saying, we're going to look at each other one day and we're going to be bald and we're going to have gray hair and say, till Thanksgiving.
I can only hire you till Thanksgiving. That's great.
And then it just kept going, and we worked for a while, but then, like I said, Train got back together the following year. The tour was great, but it didn't make a ton of money for Pat. So he ended up having to get Train back together. And it was a real frustrating time for him, I think, because in his mind, he still is the sole real writer in the band and the thing. So he couldn't have the success that he had with Train as a solo artist, even though I really wish he wanted to, And Train was such a big name, it's good for him to use that as a vehicle to still have his own writing in it.
Yeah.
It's always been him. So getting it back together, and then I came in as a hired guy, and then their keyboard player, quit. He went to Sugarland, the country band Sugarland.
Yeah.
So Brandon's brother is Christian Bush, who's the singer of Sugarland.
Okay.
So it's a small world. It's weird.
Man, it's really weird.
So Brandon was playing on that whole time that we were doing our solo stuff. Brandon was touring with Sugarland. And then, there was a moment where, is he going to stick with us? Is he going to go there? And then I played as a rhythm guitar player for a few months. And next thing you know, he bails. He's like, I'm out of here. And then Pat goes, do you want to play keyboard? I remember the moment he called me. I remember being in my front yard, and he's like, hey, man, Brandon just quit. What do you want to do? And it was just like, that was the question I've been wanting.
Since you saw him in the club and you said, I'm going to get that rhythm guitar slot.
But it was more like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'll do both, meaning like,
yeah,
Train is I always thought it was a guitar based band with a couple piano songs. I didn't think it was a piano based band with a couple guitar songs. I always thought it was a guitar band, like a Southern Black Crowes meets, Elton John thing.
Sure.
And I always felt like that I can cover both if we needed to, as a rhythm guitar player and piano player. That way it wasn't. And then it just worked out, and I stayed on board, and we didn't have to hire anybody else, And then, man, within 2-3 months, we recorded Hey Soul Sister and that whole record, and the whole thing just went nuts. But at the time, I remember saying to my wife, I was like, honey, Pat's asking me to play with Train full time. What do you think? And we had to think about it. No one would even question it now if someone comes up to you and say, do you want to play with Train? But at the time, we were playing 800 seaters. We were playing House of Blues. We were playing county fairs. I mean, it's so funny what can happen to a band if you don't have a lot of stuff on the radio. Correct.
Yeah.
You can turn into, and it's not a bad thing because you can make a good living.
No, but it's different.
Someone says, is that a 90s band? And you're like, that's like the first thing you can hear, even though a lot of our friends still do that and they do really well,
sure.
But it's very hard to stay relevant on the radio. And that's really what Pat wanted, and it's what the band wanted. And luckily he's really good at that,
Yeah.
And we were able to have a record that had 4 singles on it, and back that up with Drive By, the next record that sold 6 million records. And then it just got stupid. We were on the tour for 10 years, and it just, this is the first break we really took.
That's great, man. I'm so happy, man. That's really, really cool.
It's been fun. So that all of it was like, it was hard to keep your head above it the whole time, because you were in the bubble. You kept saying, have you heard of this band? Have you heard? Like sometimes you're still asking people, do you know that band? They're like, what do you mean have I heard of this band?
Yeah.
Because to us, there was no different than playing House of Blues and then the next night playing, 6 months later, we're playing arenas, on tour with Shakira, playing soccer stadiums in South America.
It doesn't crazy, man.
Make any sense, but it was great. It was such a fun thing to be a part of as a musician at that point,
Did I was going to ask you something. When did you have time? Like, when did you learn keyboards?
Man, I'm still learning.
Well, you learn. Obviously, you're a good enough keyboardist to.
Yeah, but I definitely always. My siblings played. My sister Teresa and Katie, they all played growing up. So I heard music, piano through the house all the time. It was always playing. And I tried to pick it up, but I never took any lessons. I just tried to like, it was just like sitting around and playing it over and over again. But I definitely, wish that I still played a lot more, but I always know that I like the parts that I play, because I feel like it's just a part, it's super like straight. If you a place for a singer to come on top of and say, man, we just want parts, don't get crazy and don't get too jazzy and don't get too muso on us. I mean, my friend Jim in the Counting Crows, we have a joke about Jim's an incredible drummer, incredible musician. He played with Sheryl Crow for years. He played with, so he's toured with so many bands, and Ben Folds, he was his drummer for a while. He knows that he lives near Berkeley with me. So him and I talk about the industry quite a bit. We get coffee at Pete's Coffee and just sit around and talk about, can you believe some of these guys, but here we are like talking about how great our life is. Right. But we're also like, the idea is the part, if you're cool with playing the part and you're not, we call it threatening muso, like you're trying to be too musical. It's really hard to, saying that trust me, I love all that shit. I'll listen to Discipline. I'll listen to King Crimson all day long. I love it. But I also love C.
You got to serve the song, man. That's what it comes down to. Period.
I really like, there's nothing wrong with D. There's nothing, I love it. And I think that's what U2 and certain bands like Coldplay have been able to get away with, is they certain chords sound better loud. Really loud, like you play at a small club like Yoshi's and you can hear a lot of changing and a lot of chords because you can be in a tight room and you can hear all these things. But man, we had a jazz band kind of open up for us on our last tour, opening with Daryl Hall, with Daryl Hall and John Oates tour. And it just, I loved them. They were great, but it just didn't sound right in the venue because there's so much thump and low end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's so many chords that change, and sometimes D just needs to ring for a few seconds. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm overthinking.
No, you're just talking about your experience with sound, man. It's just
rock here, but I just know even what we play, like some songs work well because of their simplicity, but it's not simple. It's actually very hard to just play these parts, and it's really easy to screw it up and to overplay. You know? And it's really fun to find people like Luis and his brother Hector, and people that just are really cool at diving into the part, and then Pat can sit back and sing,
Wow. So you got a system now, man. You're all dialed in. Everything is like, working on all 8 cylinders. That's what it sounds like.
I think it's working really well. This tour we're looking forward to more than anything. So I know that, Goo Goo Dolls have great songs. They get it. The idea is just, people want to have a night. They want to have a summer. They're going to spend a couple $100 to go see a show that, you know what I mean?
Oh, totally, man.
They want to sing along. They want to laugh. They want to just have a thing. And we want to give everyone like the summer that it's just, we're all on board the same way. We're not like, oh man, we got to go on tour. That's terrible.
So let's go forward. So now you're in Train, writing, touring. As you mentioned, Hey Soul Sister came out. You're on your first multi-platinum song. The song goes on to win a Grammy in 2011. Pat, you and Luis wrote a song called Words, which made it onto the album, and kept you traveling around the world, TV shows, private jets.
Yeah, not as many as I think we use them when we need to get somewhere that it's very difficult to get. It's like you have 2 shows within hours or something, We do jets, but we never, you're not going to buy them, but you're going to charter them.
Oh, yeah.
But, at our peak, we might do 10 a
It's
year.
funny you said we're not going to buy them. That's like 1990s Guns N' Roses money you need for that, man. Holy shit. Buy one of those things.
We definitely there was a while, I think my favorite way of touring was we would charter like these Dorniers, I think is what they're called. They're like 30-seaters.
Planes?
Yeah, they're
that's pretty cool.
They're awesome because then you can bring a crew, you can bring everybody in there, and then you get the same pilots and the same flight attendant for the month.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
So if we look at our schedule, and our tour manager Sam's incredible. He's been out with us for 7 years, I think, right with us. He's real good at the whole, we have this many shows in October, right? There's 18 shows or whatever, 20 shows. We could take a tour bus here and do this and this and this, or we could just get to Dorney and just, I mean, this is a couple years ago we did it, and it was all of our favorite way to tour because
oh my God, yeah.
it's the Def Leppard thing.
Yeah,
it's
man.
It's what you expect. And, you know, it was my idea one night our drum logo, the logo for the band is that train looking weird kind of black, you know, and we put it on the drum head, you know, that sticker you put on there. And I remember saying, hey, do you have an extra one of those? Bring that. And then we put it on the side of the plane, right? A couple pictures of it, even though it wasn't our plane. We just put the drum decal on the plane. And I think I got a bunch of booze. I'm taking pictures with it and everything. But those were like, we're just as giddy as anybody.
Man, why not? You know what?
But it that made sense because we needed to get to all these cities, you know, in that time frame and to do all those shows together. I don't know if I think the bottom line just it was cheaper to do it that way than it would be fly everybody, to fly that many people, that many, you know, our crew right now in our whole band, it's less than 20 of us. Like, can you imagine this? Like, multi-million-dollar company has less than 20 people really involved in it, right? And then when you go out into the summer, you can expand to 45 or 50 with drivers, and we'll go out with 6 tour buses and maybe 5.
Wow, you have 45 or 50 people.
Well, when it expands to the summer,
wow,
because it's a lot of drivers, it's a lot of production assistants, it's the crew gets really big. Because you have system techs, you have people dealing with the lights, you have people dealing with the power, people dealing with the, you know, the board and dealing with all the stuff. So you know, we can expand from, like I said, 15 people to 40 really quick.
That's amazing. That's a lot. It's a lot of people to manage.
The logistic part of it is really fun. Like when you're going to come out to our show in Tampa.
Yeah.
Like I love showing people around and showing them the fascinating part is I'll still wake up sometimes and watch them set up. Like when you go to these shows, you don't realize bands bring the speakers, the lights, they bring all of it.
Oh,
it's not like these venues come with that stuff in there. It's like those clowns show up at 7 a.m. and they're hanging all that stuff, right? And I can't believe more people don't get hurt. It's the most incredible production. And if I didn't party too hard the night before, I'll sit and watch it, you know, and I'll get a coffee and just sit and watch these guys hang the whole damn stage and hang everything. You know, I still get that Faithfully video. Remember that Journey video from the 80s?
Yeah.
And it's just like all about touring. You know, it's like that watching MTV as a kid. It's like it's not that I wanted to do it. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Like, you're kidding me? They get a city to city, and I remember there's a scene where the drummer takes their baby up in a baby carriage into a private jet. Right? If you ever watch that video again, you'll see it. And I always thought that was the craziest thing. Like, they're taking their baby on a jet, right? And I remember I had to do that once, and I thought that was the coolest moment.
That's
I remember
cool, man.
Carrying my daughter up onto a plane, a little jet once, and I was like, "This is the strangest thing I've ever."
Well, especially you had that video memory in your head.
That was the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to grow a mustache like Steve Perry.
Well, let me tell you, in Tampa, you'll be in the air condition. You will not be outside watching anything. You'll be getting cooled down. It will be gross.
See, so that's the difference.
It'll be gross in July.
We've done amphitheaters almost every summer for 7 or 8 years, maybe, you know, where last year was the first year that we did arenas. We did basketball stadiums, you know.
Oh, that's great if you can.
What's wonderful, it was the Hall & Oates tour. I can't tell you how cool John Oates is. He's the coolest. I'm not going to say anything else about the other guy, but John Oates is amazing.
I'm supposed to have him on the show. Actually, I got to follow up
because I can reach out to.
I'd love to come because I was talking with his PR person for a while now. He's supposed to come on, so that's good.
Get him on there. Yeah, he's this, and he loves guitar. He's got the greatest guitar story about. We were on tour. I'll have him say it, but. Yeah, he's got this SG from the 60s that he grew up. It was his first guitar, right? You have to ask him the story. It was his first guitar. I remember being backstage once and he goes, "Hey, Jerry, come here." It was like Luis and I went back to his dressing room and he goes, "I got to show you something." That's already cool that first of all, John Oates knows who I am, right? And then he will say like he wants to talk about nerdy guitar stuff. And he's like, "You see this thing?" And he pulled it up. And I think it was a Les Paul Junior, but they look like the SG, whichever one that is. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, the Junior had the two was curved.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So I think it was like a.
Yeah, it sounds like a Les Paul Junior is what you're talking about.
It was a 60, whatever it was, but it was his first guitar, right? And somehow there's this long story about how he gave it to a guy and then he hadn't seen it for 30 or 40 years. And then that guy passed away and then someone had to get a hold of him to say his dying wish was to give you this guitar back. And he ended up getting it back from this rabbi. Yeah, you got to hear that story. I'm not going to screw it up, but he got it back from this rabbi, at sundown. He had to meet this rabbi at sundown at the hotel in Philadelphia at this one, because he couldn't do it on the Sabbath or so something. The whole story is amazing. And there was a guitar. He goes, I got my first guitar back today.
That is really cool.
And it was the coolest thing because he's just that nerdy about guitars. Like, that's the thing. Keyboards for me has always been fun. I have a ton of keyboards. I love them. But, guitar is just something else. Yeah. It's just something you can't even explain. And my first guitar was this Harmony that my brother Jay gave me, which was
the pickups, the gold foil pickups.
No, this was
like a Silvertone. No,
it was just garbage. But it hurt so much to play. There's the action was so bad. Everything about it was terrible. But it made me get my next guitar. And then it made me get this old Cort, which was terrible, that my dad went and picked up with me. And then I think you have to have shitty guitars to learn how to play guitar, right? Because then you appreciate the good ones.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's the thing, is these guitars were all terrible. They didn't stay in tune, and they were, And then you do your battle of the bands, and next thing you know, you move on to the next one. So, guitars are, you can't even. Yeah, I still get excited. My friends, my friend Brandon, all these people, we just shop still to this day. And it's like I'm 17 again every moment, right?
Well,
it doesn't change.
I will tell you, when guys come into town, if they've got time off, they'll call me, we'll have lunch, and they're like, the next thing we almost always do is like, hey, is there a good guitar store here?
Yeah.
So we go to the guitar stores.
Every city we go to, it's the first thing we shop. And then like Texas has the best. You go to Memphis, you go anywhere, they just have the best.
Well, there's actually a really good guitar store here, actually.
In town?
Yeah. It's just opened up about a couple of years ago. I don't know. In fact, I don't know how they're here, because Tampa's not like Austin or,
right.
Chicago. And they've got $1 million worth of inventory in there. So,
wow. See,
So we'll go if you have time.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, I fell into the Gibson trap a while ago, and I find myself playing a lot of just juniors, and like I just love. Yeah,
they sound great.
Yeah, the P90 thing has just been something that we do, and then I've always played SGs because they look cool and they're great. But like, J45s, all the acoustic stuff. I mean, I love. It's been, even though I play a lot of Fenders too, but it's just still like something about the Gibson thing. Sorry, it's just great.
Hey, let me ask this straight: top 3 experiences you've had musically, for whatever reason.
Wow. I would say maybe my talent show, playing Def Leppard when I was in 6th grade, playing Foolin'.
Really?
No, that was the first time you're really in front of a crowd, right? And it was like you get that adrenaline. I don't know. That was pretty great. I would say, I got to say this Howard Stern 60th birthday party thing.
Okay, talk about that, man.
I can't even like explain. We were dealing with a bunch of other things. We were super busy. And I remember Pat saying, hey, man, Howard wants us, because we've done Stern a bunch. He's been really cool to us. And Train went on a lot of years before I was in the band. But then when I came in, I got to do it maybe 10 times. I've been in the studio a lot doing.
What's he like? Is he a nice guy, he seems like? He's
the greatest.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
He's as sweet as you think he's going to be, but maybe even nicer. Like off camera, he's like, so man, look at you guys. This is so great. Thank you so much for coming in. I can't believe you're here. And you're like, what? Why are you're expecting him to be kind of like dismissive and whatever. No, he's the coolest and the nicest.
Well, I think he's changed a lot. I grew up listening to him in New York, and I think he's changed a lot, like as a human. I think he's probably, not as angry, and therefore, and he probably realized the way to not be angry is to be kind. And it's just,
maybe. Yeah. I didn't know him before. Yeah, definitely. But in our experience, and him and Pat are actually really close. Like
that's nice, man.
They're in touch a lot, and he's been so great for the band. Like, and doing the birthday party, we were the house band. So it was basically like,
oh my God, that is so cool.
Will you come in and just, play between the commercial breaks or play whatever. Then we'll have people out and they'll sit in with you. Is that cool with you guys? You're going to have to learn a bunch of other material. And then Pat's like, hey man, can you do this? And I'm like, whatever you need. Who's going to come on? And he goes, I don't know, a bunch of guys. I'll get you in touch with them. I'm like, oh, cool. So we had to deal with our own set, which was, 5 or 10 songs. And then on top of that, I got Steven Tyler hitting me up. I got John Mayer, which I had already toured with, who's incredible. Right?
Holy shit.
Bon Jovi, right? And then who else? Dave Grohl sat in with us.
Wow.
Well, no, it was the coolest show, and Slash played with us too. So here it is, and then if you look at this is a few years before Prince died, but Adam Levine, we had already toured with Maroon 5, so we knew those guys pretty well. And Adam hits me up, and we're like, "Hey, I'm gonna do Purple Rain. Is that cool?" And if you look at,
you know what, I remember that
100 million views of this damn
I
thing.
remember that. I think I saw that on television.
Yeah, and this was before everyone thinks it's a like a Prince tribute. He was still alive when we did it. Yeah. But it was like one of those shows that just Adam he's great. He was a really good. He was so nervous to play guitar too. I mean, I have the sound check on tape too, and it was pretty funny because he didn't really, he didn't play as well as he did in the actual show because he was still trying to get it together and nervous about the singing part. And I just remember. I have to build tracks sometimes. Like I have to build a click for the drummer, and so we're just in tempo. And there's some strings and there's some stuff in the background that I try to fill in. You can't really hear it on some of the songs, but I definitely have it for us. So you don't hear the 3, 4. There's things that we build. And I remember dealing with it with Adam and putting it together. And I think we did the song a half step higher than the actual song. Because I remember talking to him going, hey, man, what key you want to do it in? And he goes, yeah, whatever the normal one is. I said, I think it's in B. He goes, okay, B's cool. And I think it's in B flat, actually. So he ended up.
So half step lower.
Yeah, I think he ended up singing it like higher. He sang it in B instead of B flat, which ended up really sounding good for his voice.
That's wild.
But I always felt really bad that I was like, oh, shit, I think this
gave the wrong key.
A little high.
But that's how I remember that, because I remember Stern kept saying he couldn't believe what a good guitar player Adam was.
He really showed up. It's like those are those little things, those little moments where you're just kind of like, I always knew he played guitar. I knew he played guitar years ago. But James and his band is an incredible guitar player. So he's always kind of been like the guy who plays a little rhythm, but when you let him shred, he can freaking blow a little bit, Well,
I had James on here, and James said the same. James Valentine, who's like total like Mr. Zen, but he's so chilled out. But he mentioned on the interview, he said Adam is a great guitar player, and people, that's
they should know. Yeah, so like I had to deal with everybody. I had to deal with John Mayer. He's like, hey man, let's do what was it? What song did we do? Shoot, it was Hendrix, whatever. But his stuff was insane because he's such a good player. So just doing that was incredible, and then having Bon Jovi come up and doing. I got to play the 12-string part for Dead or Alive on that.
That is really cool.
And then Steven Tyler, we end up doing Dream On, and then they have Slash come up from like out of the stage, and then he ends up playing. So it's just one of those shows that everything about it was like the coolest show I think I'd ever done. Still,
That's like really amazing.
Because everybody was fun too. No one was a weirdo. Everybody was cool. And
no one was a weirdo.
You know what I'm saying? Even is it John 5? Is that John?
Yeah.
So is it John or Johnny? I'm going to say it wrong.
No, John 5.
John 5. So he's awesome because Rob Zombie played, and that's their theme song for Howard. I think it's a Rob Zombie song, right?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
So they played, and then he went and sat down, and then while we were doing the jam at the end of the night, he came up, and I know he's ripping guitar.
He's a shredder.
And since no one organized the actual jam, I could just see him stand up and start walking towards the stage. I just take off my SG, and I was like, "Here, man, you play,"
Yeah.
And that was fun because Dave Grohl came back and we played like Walk This Way and we did all this stuff, and it was just one of those moments.
Talented motherfucker, Dave Grohl, man.
He was
insanely talented,
and he was really funny too. Like, and then he drew dicks on all the drums for us. You get the Sharpie out.
That's his thing. Dave Grohl puts dicks everywhere.
And he drew it on all the heads, and then our whole crew, we gave it to the guys, and so it's funny. These are those little things that was a really fun night.
So you got one more, man. First time in front of a crowd, Howard Stern's 60th birthday.
Boy. Well, I have to say probably New Year's Eve we played Times Square, like was the ball dropped. We were the last band, and that.
When was this?
a couple of years ago. I don't know what it was, but
Was
it
it
was one
brutal
of those.
cold or was it okay?
It was one of those days that was so cold, but it's that idea of the whole world. There's it might be 1 billion people watching.
Yeah.
It's not 50.
No, that's
or
not far-fetched at all.
And you're just sitting there going, is this real? You know, and then you're, as far as you can see are people. And then it's our cue, the end chord of our thing is the end of the ball drop, you know, so we were the last band to do it. And yeah, it's all surreal. It's very super strange. And I just remember my wife and kids were there and I just looked at them going, I don't know how much bigger it's going to get than this, guys.
Yeah. Is that a trap potentially that like if you're a goal-oriented person?
Right. Well, no, I still, there's so many things I love, like something like what Lyle, our friend Lyle Workman, who introduced us,
shout out to Lyle actually for that.
Shout out. He's the greatest. The idea that he's so creative right now, even though he's the greatest guitar player in the world, and
he's
playing with Beck and playing with Rundgren and all the stuff that he's done, Sting and everybody, his career right now couldn't be cooler, right? But I'm saying like things morph into different things, and I mean the band right now, I'm really excited about what we're doing, and you never know where it's going to go. It's going to do something else. I want this to do other things, and it's going to keep going. But it's that idea that I don't think that he knew, that Lyle knew while he was playing with Sting, that he would have this other whole thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with Pat and with people who are goal oriented, it is difficult to say, well, how do I top that? You know, how do I do another one? But I think it's just consistency, staying on the road, and knowing that a company like Live Nation will continue to say, we want you guys to tour every summer in amphitheaters.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like there's enough material. Our catalog,
your catalog is huge.
That's what's so fun is there's no like, yeah. Since I've been with the band, it hasn't dipped. It's been the coolest still trajectory. Like I still feel like we had a platinum record out a year and a half ago. You know, it doesn't like, it's not like it you know what I'm saying?
Jerry,
like
you may be the good luck charm here. I got to be honest.
I don't know, man. I'm just keeping it moving. I'm not sure about that. No,
but you know what I'm saying about like, cause if when you're goal oriented, it's, you know, you want to move higher, but you know, you get to a certain point where it's like, if you keep having that expectation, well, maybe there's nowhere else to go, or there's, you know, you've played with everybody. It's okay. Does that mean, you know, I believe that's not easy, or you have to talk to yourself I think like maybe being grateful on a daily basis or something would probably help that, or
I think, I completely, like, so I'm in Seattle right now. Pat he lives up here, and we're writing for a new album. You know, we're like, there's still the giddy and excitement to think of what could come out of this. Yeah. And it's not financial. It's more of just to think there's something that you're working on that doesn't exist tomorrow, or doesn't exist today but might tomorrow. It's like art, any kind of art. It becomes tangible that was in your head a minute ago, but now it's an MP3 or whatever, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's the craziest.
Well, I was talking to somebody, it might have been Lyle. It was someone like that. And it was Joe Satriani.
Yeah.
And he made a comment that I'd never heard before. He said, you know, I think it was Joe, the thing about music is if you go look at all other arts, you see it. There's a visual, you know, it leaves a footprint somehow. Mm-hmm. Music is weird because, you know, you can record something, but it evaporates in time.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Joe, he's so great. I love Joe.
Which is wild. Yeah, he was really good, man.
I met him. This is another greatest phone call of my life. Sammy, I'd done Sammy Hagar. Sammy and James Hetfield have an acoustic show in San Francisco. It's called Acoustic for a Cure.
Okay, yeah. He's done. Sammy has a lot of charities, I think.
It's awesome. Yeah, he's such a good dude. They're great guys, and they put this benefit on. And Pat and I did it the first 3 years. And I remember the first year, Sammy hits me up. He's like, "Hey, man, first of all, just knowing Sammy has been insane because he's the coolest dude." And he was 5150. Like that was I know it's not early Van Halen, which I love, but still, that was my first rock show was Van Halen.
Yeah.
Like, so to get to meet Sammy and have him call me one day and say, "Hey, man, is it all right if I give your number to Joe Satriani?" And I was like, What do you mean? Like, Joe needs you to sit in and play with him at this show. And I was like, are you serious? Yeah, of course. And so, like, I'm sitting in a baseball. My son doesn't play baseball anymore, but I remember watching him at a baseball game, and my phone rang from this 510 Oakland number, right? And Joe Satriani on the phone, and he couldn't be nicer.
Yeah,
I'm going to send you a couple songs. You know, Sammy said you might be able to help him play. He just needed some keyboard stuff, just some background, and it was that his big song, what's With You, or with that, you know. Right?
So having a brain
for With You, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's from
yeah, of course I know that song. You know, he's like, I'm going to send you a couple songs, like thinking I wouldn't know what they were or something. And then I got to play with him, I think 3 years in a row. And then said, and like Tommy Lee came in one year, and then everybody was there, and
Always With Me, Always With You. Sorry, I had to look at those.
No, that's
bothering me. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah,
great song.
So those guys, just like, I love being an auxiliary guy for anybody that'll have me, but definitely people that I grew up listening to is just insane, you know. So it's been those Sammy shows, they're always great and they're fun. And there's another one coming up in May that's great.
Another charitable event.
Yeah, charity. So their guitar player, Vic, do you know Vic Johnson?
I know who he is. I don't know him.
He's the guy that plays with Sammy in The Circle, which is going to be Sammy and Jason Bonham, and then Michael Anthony on bass. And that I'll put you in touch with Vic. He's the greatest.
Do you know Dave Amato? Because he plays those charity events too. Yeah. He was in town. He was doing some corporate gig. And so we went to breakfast, and then we were just hanging out. He goes, "Hey man, is there a guitar store here?" That was the guy. It was just like a few weeks ago, and so we went to like 3 guitar stores. It was just like,
man, it might be my favorite thing, other than being with my wife and kids. I think getting to a town. Yeah, Luis and we do it. We will text each other, and it's like, you Yelp the best restaurant to go get some coffee and eggs, and then go get a guitar. Like,
yeah.
I mean, whether or not we buy them or not, it's just the journey.
It's just the fun of playing and looking. Yeah. And Dave spoke so highly of that event, and he goes, he couldn't believe how well run the whole thing was. And he was playing with Joe, and he had the same experience. Like, you know, holy shit, Joe Satriani. You know, it was just.
It's so fun to hear these guys on acoustic, I got to tell you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So imagine, like, he's just got this tone when he plays, and then to have him play acoustic, there's just like, it's still great, but it's just always a little funny.
Oh, it's different, yeah. Especially because they're wild, way out there with electronics effects.
Yeah, there's no tapping, there's no delay, there's no anything. So it's just them kind of playing. Yeah, it's great though.
Jerry, let me ask this. What were some of the lower points or the dark periods that you've had to deal with in your life, and how'd you get through them? And whatever you're comfortable with, personal, music related.
No, I'm just kidding.
You can, man. That's totally cool, man.
I don't know, man. There's always those moments. You know, this thing with me. I mean, I don't think you would put it in a bio, but when I wanted to play with these guys, when I wanted to play with Train, I actually got called by Pat in 2002, I think, or 3, when they had just recorded Calling All Angels, and that new record was going to come out. It's going to do really well. And they're like, we need a keyboard player, right? And they had like 3 guys come out, and he's like, the audition was like 2 days later, and he sent me the material, and I got it, and I wasn't ready, you know? And I played as well as I could, but I wasn't the guy, you know?
Yeah.
And I just remember, but knowing deep down, I was the guy. But you know what I'm saying? There was something in my head that kept saying that, but so I didn't get it. They went to another keyboard player. So it was this strangest like life audition that I knew that I probably belonged to that band, but I didn't get it. And that was like a turning point, but it was also, being handed, I mean, people go on auditions all the time and they don't get them, but I've never not got one. You know what I mean? So for me, it's the only one that stuck out. Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah.
So
why weren't it was just wrong timing for you? Do you have other shit going on, or
no? I think the guy that got Brandon was a much better piano player at the time. And they only needed a keyboard player, and they actually, you know, I toured with these guys for 2 years, so I don't think that the other guys, or even Pat maybe at the time, was really willing to see me as a musician.
That's a hard thing. Like even like outside of music, like, you'll have buddies over your career. They were, I don't know, a banker. And then all of a sudden they're like a real estate agent, and they hit up all their friends. And it's like, man, it's not really transferable. You got to
and I totally get it, because I had nothing to prove. They knew that I played. In those early days, we would travel. I'd be in a van. We would go to a lobby bar. We'd hang out, and I'd just sit and play Elton John songs all night. We'd just be downstairs laughing, boozing all night. Super fun. So they knew me as a fun piano player kind of guy. But I wasn't. I knew that I was never like this dude, right? That was going to like, whatever, take him to the next place as a keyboardist. It was a super strange moment, because I just remember being like, what a freaking bummer, because you know what I mean? Like, because I really thought that I had it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that, oh my God, this is the call I've been waiting for. Right. But I do know that it's important to maintain, not be an asshole and write back and say, why didn't you freaking pick me? You know what I mean? Like,
well, that ain't going to help.
That doesn't do any good, because man, now I run the audition processes for the guys that are auditioning for us if we need another guy. And I've seen it all over the board. There are people that are super cool, like, hey man, thanks for the opportunity to let me know when you need a sub or whatever, and there's people that can't get it past their brain that they didn't get it.
No, man, you suck it up, and then you send an email. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you. If something comes up, let me know.
Exactly. So it has been a full circle, because having to run it from the other side, I know that it's not one factor. It's not, what color your hair is, how tall you are, what you look like. There are a number of factors that go into it. And one of them might just be, I don't picture it, or whatever. There's something in my head I don't picture,
Is there room for a bald guy from New York? That's what I want to know.
Well, we had one from Chicago for years. We had a bald.
That train left, quote, not to put a pun on words, right?
That's funny. No, there's always room. I don't know. Maybe whatever it was, I understand. I actually think they made the right decision now looking back, because I know that I'm better now than I've ever been as a musician, and maybe at the time I didn't play well, or I wasn't the right guy, what I'm saying?
It sounds like you were like, even though it was like a huge bummer, it sounds like there was, you were kind of like, okay, like, I know this is going to, it sounds like almost you knew that was going to happen anyway.
I think maybe that's what I'm saying. That's why it was kind of a weird thing in the back of my head. Like, I thought that, that's weird, because it always felt like that was the trajectory. Yeah. And then to have it just kind of go like this. And then just like I try to tell people, like when I my very first band I wanted to be in so bad in 8th or 9th grade, I wanted to be in this band called After Dark. They were the cool band. They played the rec center. They played the roller rink. They played the parties. And I was so mad that they were doing it already, and I was not, that I remember going up to them once, being arrogant, saying, you need me in your band. I'm the guy, you need to hire me as another guy. And I remember they're like, we're good, man. Stop being so pushy. We're good. We don't want you. And then you go, And then the best thing that ever happened was I started my own band because of that, Yeah. And then those guys that I started my band with they become my best friends for the rest of my life. It's like, I feel like you need the no's in life. If I didn't have that no, man, my best man at my wedding, these are people that I met because of a no.
That's, it always happens, man. It's like shit bums you out, but the reality is another door, you can't connect the dots moving forward. That's the truth. And you don't know what they're going to look like, and you find out afterwards, and it always leads you to something, hopefully better.
Right. But it's really hard when you're in the middle of it.
Oh no, it sucks. And you just want to go in a time machine and fast forward, man. Luckily,
I feel like I've had mostly good all the time. I was born with a lot of crazy shit wrong. I had a lot of, like, my doctor gave me like 72 hours to live. They said I wasn't going to walk. I had all these problems. Like, I had hip growing up. So there was all this other stuff going on too, where, my mom and we were super close. We've always, so it was kind of like, there was always like this underdog factor and runt factor of the family. You know, I was like, so I always felt like I wasn't trying to prove myself, but I always did feel like there might have been things that have gone wrong, but I'm going to make them right, you know? And I don't know, it's just persistent. Like, it's just kind of like in a family of 9, you got to be loud, you know, you can't cower. You can't kind of come back. You got to, you know, my brother Jim is a super athlete, and man, he never let me win at anything. And I thought that might've been the coolest thing he ever did, even though he was such an asshole when he would do it in a good way. He would just, whatever it was, we played video games or played soccer in the front yard. I think it's a really good lesson is you gotta earn the wins.
Yeah, man. You gotta have skin in the game. You gotta earn the wins. I think it's a really, And I see a lot of people haven't done that, and they're sort of paralyzed a little bit because you go out in the real world and it's not really like that. Like, hey, no one's throwing you a bone really, like, you know, for free.
Right.
So I agree with you. Hey, man, let's talk about your guitars for a minute, because you mentioned a shit ton. What's your go-to guitar now? Not that you have to play, the ones you like to play. Top 3.
I have a 70s. I think it's a 73 TV Yellow, like Les Paul Jr. I know it's not like a great year that anybody says. I love this guitar. I got
TV Yellow is so cool.
We were going to play David Letterman. Hey, here, I love little stupid story like that. We're in Manhattan one night. We know we're playing Letterman, and we're doing drive-by on the thing. And I remember I was all over Craigslist looking for shit always, every day. And then I see this guitar, and I was like, that's it, you know? I want that guitar. I wanted it, you know? And I go into this guy's little studio. I take a cab. This is pre-Uber, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then I go to this guy's studio, and I was like, hey, man, is that it? And it was only $1,500, $2,000. It wasn't very much. It wasn't like a huge. And I was like, I'll take it, you know? And he's like, really? He goes, what do you do? And I was like, I'm gonna play this on Letterman tonight. And he was like, you're kidding me. And I was like, no, I'm gonna play it on Letterman.
Such a good story, man.
He was so mad because at that moment because he was like, shit, I knew I shouldn't have sold this guitar. Like he wasn't mad. He was just mad that someone else was gonna get more enjoyment out of it. It was very funny. It was a good.
That's
moment.
Weird. Yeah.
He was like, are you serious? Oh, man. And then I remember playing it that night. And it's funny. I can go back and watch it and know that I bought that guitar 3 hours before. My guitar tech was so mad at me because, you know, all the other stuff works. And we had it for years. And I remember I handed it to him. I was like, make sure this thing works tonight. And he goes,
that's not a 5-minute job.
Yeah. He's like, no, you know, I don't want to deal with it, you know? And I was like, no, I'm playing it, you know? And you know the Shreds series that they have on YouTube? You ever heard of the Shreds?
No. Who does
So
that?
someone goes in and they cut new audio to a video that's on YouTube. It's like, I'll send you some links, man.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up now.
I'm sure they're basically
SHRED.
Yeah, I think it's DS.
Okay.
But it's making fun, and it's really, really the funniest thing in the world. It's like there's some Clapton ones and there's some other ones. It's really bad guitar playing, audio put on top of real video.
Okay.
But these people have learned the notes to the point where it really looks real. So someone who's not a musician might watch it and go, oh my God, they sound terrible, right? But it's some of the funny. So there's a Shreds of Train on Letterman.
Oh my God. That is cool.
And it's like a really bad karaoke band playing, but it's with our video. So anyways, I always see that video and it's me playing guitar. And it always cracks me up. But that's
a really cool story that you picked that up right before a gig.
I love that guitar. I got this, it's a B25 Gibson 66. It's just a little acoustic. And I play it all the time. It's like in the studio. It's not, terribly expensive, but it's got mojo and I like it. I play it on a lot of our records and I just love that little guitar. I got a lot of newer stuff too, just like the custom shop, Gibson stuff, like a new J45,
Are you a Gibson endorser?
I think, yeah, they gave us a couple guitars over the years, and the new guys that are running the company are great right now.
That's what it seems like. No, I haven't met them yet. I need to.
They're really cool. Yeah. Identical twins.
Really?
At least I don't know if both of them are running the company, but I know one of them is part of it. But yeah, they came out to a show once and they were super nice. I think they're Levi Strauss heirs.
I think the CEO came from Levi.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah.
Levi's. Yeah. Okay.
They're identical twins. They're really tall, long hair.
That's really funny.
And then they were at one of our shows once, and they're really fun. And so I was like so excited to hear that they had come and, came over and did the Gibson thing. So Luis is much better at this. He will know names, and he knows those guys really well. He's the guy that's kind of got me nerdy about guitars more than anything. Cause I think Keith Richards says once that the reason you play guitar is to play guitar with another guitar player, right?
Yeah,
I think it's one of my favorite. Like, that's exactly right. If you can just sit in a room and one guy plays the one part and you play the other part, it's not just about one guy playing, right? And I knew when I met Luis that I could play the rhythm and let him go crazy, and because I just enjoyed that side of it, and it doesn't sound right, Keith doesn't sound right without Ron Wood, It doesn't sound right without that other guitar kind of in there, where, not that I love lead guitar. I just never, I'm not a shredder, I love playing. I can do a little bit of it, but watching these guys that sound.
Oh, when you get a guy that's a proper.
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive.
I'm not trying to get into their world.
Let me ask a question.
I love it. Yeah.
The Les Paul, that's the Les Paul Jr. is one pickup, right?
This one is, yeah.
Well, I think all Les Paul Juniors are actually.
Man, you're talking to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and is that a P90 or is that a humbug? I think it's
P90.
It's P90.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Leslie West played that guitar.
Is that right?
Yeah, everybody knows him for, he played, which is crazy because he gets, he's known as the tone guy, but that was his guitar for years in the early days.
Lyle even told, I use a Fractal Live. I don't know if you guys, because I had told everyone just builds their pedal boards over the years and years. And then next thing you know, having consistent sound is very important,
Sure.
And it's tough when we do a lot of private shows. We do a lot of private events. You show up and in every Matchless, I use Matchless amps or AC30s, and they're all terribly inconsistent, even though they're all great amps, they're just not the same. You can set the levels where you want them to be and they're not going to be the same. And we ended up doing a lot of, just trying to get our shit together so we sound consistent every night on an airplane. So these Fractal things have been really great. I think they sound good. I don't know.
Change it. No, a lot of people do. And you know what, man? It's nice to carry something that weighs 3 pounds.
I don't know. I haven't carried gear in a long time. No,
but you know what I'm saying, though? For the rest of the world, Jerry, it weighs nothing instead of schlepping all these big amps and heads and all that shit. Yeah, a lot of people do that.
I always run a line to my Matchless, and I run always an analog chain every show, and then I leave it up to Jason Moore, our sound guy, to deal with what he wants to deal with. So we're always giving people versions of, you know what I'm saying? Like, they definitely, he has a choice of having my amp or having the direct signal, and he can play with it, So, but it's nice to have those options nowadays. And we're all ears, and we don't even use wedges on stage. My amp is really far off stage.
Did it take you a while to get used to those?
Oh my God. I missed the amp. I still have a hard time with some of it, but Josh Gaunt is my guitar tech. He's the coolest dude in the world. I stole him from Justin Bieber, if you can believe that.
Nice.
No, he was out with him for years doing arenas and doing everything, and he worked with a lot of bands that have
nothing against Justin Bieber, but it's got to be frustrating being like a guitar tech with a guy who really doesn't play guitar.
I know, man.
How many guitars a night is he playing? And it's more rewarding when you're.
Josh is great. He was with Nuno Bettencourt. He was a lot of people too. Yeah. So that's why I'm always like, you sure you want to be my tech? But he definitely, Josh is so good at sound and organization, and he's the guy that you pull up in the guitar tray and everything has a perfect spot for. I just want him to come and organize my life. He's very good at all of that.
You're not that organized, yeah.
And I love that he's made me sound better than I've ever sounded, and just because all the gear is working. You know what I mean? Like, I've had other techs that are wonderful and great people and everything, but we've always been in such a hurry all the time that we never really put the rigs together that I feel like we needed. And then Josh kind of cleaned everything up.
Very cool.
And yeah. So it's great, man. The idea of someone tuning your guitars and being your tech is still not lost on me. It's common. I have 10 guitars on the road, and I'm the keyboard player. Right?
Nice. Desert Island Discs, top 3. No particular order, and just for today.
You know, I always think about it, and I always say the wrong, or I change it up. But I probably have to have Abbey Road on there. I know it's cheesy to say it, but I think I need to have that on there.
No, it's all good, man. Great
I
record.
probably have to hear that, and I probably, I might even have to have The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
By Genesis?
Yeah.
That's a first.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What I like about it is it's a double disc, so it's long, and I grew up as a drummer, and I think that I always thought that I would be a drummer.
Interesting.
Like, even though I still play,
that probably accounts for your guitar playing being so, you especially rhythm.
I think there's a that I care about lining things up and having it, but I think that I always just pictured like me playing arenas as a drummer, but I know I got to a certain level that I wasn't as good as I wanted to be. But I know that listening to those records, I wanted to impress my brothers who loved music, you know, and they loved that stuff. And for me, before I even had my drums, I would just play pillows, and I would just like, you know, and then that spilled into Headbangers Ball and big drum sets. And like my friend Terry would come over, and we would put our drum sets together and tape them to look like Striper, you know.
Did you ever like, if you're playing an arena, do you ever go like during sound check and just sit behind the drums and pound away just for the hell of it?
I do, but it's never set up the same. Like imagine playing guitar as a guitar player. Imagine playing a guitar that's the frets are this big. You know what I mean? Instead of this big.
Yeah.
Our drummer's really big. He's like 6'.
Oh, okay.
So I'm little, and I sit back there, and it's like go go go, go, go. And everything you do feels like Tommy Lee. You know, it doesn't. It's not like this tight little set where you can go. You know,
yeah.
I'll hit it, and it feels good to hit. But it's definitely, you know, I think it's just like a dream. If you talk to Pat too, he grew up as a drummer. Everybody in our band plays drums well. You know, and so he's in the same boat. You'll see him at every show somehow try to get back to the drums. You know, it's by far the coolest and the most fun instrument. So, yeah, does that make? Yeah, let me think.
Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Abbey Road.
And man, what is wrong with me? I don't know. What are yours? Maybe you could inspire me.
No, mine are going to be like Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And believe it or not, I might take Wish You Were Here on top of that. And then,
holy shit.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm a major Gilmore. And then I probably wouldn't because I have too many guitarists. It'd be something by Freddie King. And,
really? Okay.
Yeah, maybe either Roy Buchanan or Mike Bloomfield, a box set from one of those guys.
Man, I wish I listen to music a lot still, but nothing like I used to. I think that's a little bit of a curse with the ears and hearing music as much as I have to hear, where my wife listens a lot to music and my kids listen to it all the time.
Are you compatible musically with your wife?
Hell no.
You know what's funny? I'm not either.
We have a couple areas that we can intersect. And I think it's like Tom Petty, Amy Mann, Beatles. There's a few things that we intersect with, but mostly, yeah, I walk in the room and I got to walk out of the room. and she goes, why don't you just pick something that you like? And I'm like, well, what I like, it's not really something that you want to sit around and listen to at the dinner table, you know? Like, it's just so interesting. It's okay. It's okay.
I know.
That we don't. Yeah.
I know. It's funny though, because like music's such an important part of your life. It's a very important part of my life. And you'd think, but my wife and I have never been musically compatible. It's funny.
Yeah. And it's probably a good thing. So I have a twin sister, Sarah, right? And yeah. I know that her growing up listening to REM, U2 and Depeche Mode and all these like arty 80s, 90s bands turned me off 100% from all of it because I couldn't like what she liked. You know, it just didn't work. And plus I didn't like the sound of it. I didn't like the guitar, like something about it I didn't like. And it was interesting that like now I go back and go, holy shit, I missed U2. I missed the whole thing.
You know, it's a good band to check out of that era if you ever If you
What's
haven't,
that?
Television.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Tom
God.
Verlaine, is that right?
Yeah, Tom Verlaine and Richard Lloyd. What a
Yeah.
player,
So
man.
I get it, dude. I just saw Peter Murphy a couple nights. He just did. He's doing a residency in San Francisco. 20
Is he
shows.
really? Man, I'm going to reach out to him. I'd love to have him on my show.
20 shows, right?
That's really cool.
A friend, I know his drummer, so I was able to go hang out with them and. But how cool is that? Like the guy just shows up, and his stuff. I mean, I never got into that either
What
until
a voice.
go back and listen. Yeah. And he's doing a Bowie set too. He's doing like 2 or 3 Bowie nights, just straight Bowie. So yeah, it's just a part of my shit that I would probably take Grace. Jeff Buckley is my third record. I know that that's trendy and hip, but man, it changed the way I play guitar. Definitely. What I like about Buckley is he loved Zeppelin and all, and he loved Genesis too. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He covered like some weird Genesis back in New York City from Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So
That's
he did
weird.
these strange covers of stuff that you wouldn't have put that together with him, you know? And now I love feeling like, oh, I get it, you know, oh, this is why I like this stuff because they like that stuff. And like, who would have ever thought that guy liked that, right? And it's like I remember watching Miles Davis once play. I'm not a big jazz guy at all, but I can appreciate Miles, right? So listening to him play Human Nature on trumpet one, like in 1990, right? And I was like, oh my God, because there was a time it wasn't cool to like Michael Jackson, right? And I always thought that was.
Well, that time might be coming right back after that documentary. I think we're in that time period again, to be honest with you.
I know, man. With young kids, there is no way I can watch that shit or listen to it. And my daughter loves Michael Jackson. God, she
But
loves
did you
him.
see that thing yesterday? I never read news, but I happened to see a little piece of news on social media, and it said apparently, like, I don't know, and Barbara Streisand came out. Did you see that thing? Okay, so
I'm staying away from the news since the Mueller report came out.
Dude, I haven't watched a news broadcast in about 37 years, but because it's just too depressing. I don't want any of that shit in my head.
Wow. I'm jealous. I got to do it, man. I'm going to take a break.
Oh no, it's just toxic. So Barbara Streisand apparently came out and said, look, you know, what his sexual needs were his sexual needs. Those kids say they were damaged, but you know, they both grew up and had families.
Oh no.
So like I looked at this thing, it was like, you know where it says comments, it was like 38K comments, and everybody was like, Barbara's career is over. It was just all blah blah. It was hilarious.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that was so I don't know what the deal is if she actually said that. If she did, I don't think that's a little misguided. You know, I mean, if her kid had been sexually molested and she said, well, it was the parents' fault. Nevertheless, it doesn't take away from the trauma that if a kid's sexually molested, man. And I just thought that was wow, that's, you know. Anyway, it's just the whole shit is weird.
That's the thing. Like the Miles Davis playing a Michael Jackson song, I just remember knowing I love melody.
Yeah, okay.
That was one of those moments that made me think I don't have to like him or his dancing or his, you know, strange whatever production or whatever thing. I love the melody of that song. And come to find out, I think Toto, Steve Porcaro, whatever, wrote that, right? It wasn't even a Michael Jackson song.
Yeah, those guys are just incredibly talented.
They wrote all that stuff. So that's the thing. Like I think those were the moments that I just started falling in love with melody, you know. And do you remember the band the Rembrandts?
Yes, I do. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Guys, if you ever want to meet those guys, you should get with Phil. He's one of the greatest guitar players in the world. For real, he's such a good player.
Are they from Atlanta as well?
They're Minneapolis. Well, I think they were L.A. Okay. Phil moved to Minneapolis, but they're great guys. And they, I'm only bringing them up because my 18th birthday, I remember buying 2 cassette tapes. I bought Jellyfish, Belly Button, and I bought
God, you're a big Jellyfish fan.
Oh yeah. And then I bought the Rembrandts record, 2 cassettes. And I remember I just had those cassettes on like rotation and I'm trying to learn every part. Turns out Lyle Workman's like, you know, ends up playing guitar in Jellyfish and did that record.
That's right. So
for me to like meet Lyle down the road, and so my singer had a podcast for a couple of years, and I was like the musical guy, and I got to do it with him. And we would learn songs. That's how we got to meet Sammy Hagar. I meet all these people like Lyle, and we sit in a room and we get to play songs with them. I think we did 110 of them. You know how hard podcasts are. I don't need to tell you. it does take a long time to edit and put it together and actually, and we did bi-monthly, I think. And it was just
that's a lot of episodes,
a lot of work. So, Jellyfish, Rembrandts, there was a huge change in my writing and listening when I turned 18. And it just made me start getting into songs instead of just shredding or whatever, and I still love Jelly. I love all that stuff. But, listening back, I listen to the production of it, and it is very 90s, and it is a lot of reverb on those snare drums, and it's a lot of stuff that is a little sugary and hard to take. But I still just get such a glow, and I love listening to it, And, yeah, Lyle is just insane. Yeah, I got to get his tone.
I actually had Don Dixon on my show recently. He was the producer of, REM's first album, did a lot of Smithereens stuff. Great guy. Really nice guy.
Wow.
Really smart guy. All right, man. One last question, because I know you got a jet. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been intentional and how much is just a part of aging? Dude, you all I know is you've smiled this whole interview. You're awesome. It's so cool to be around people like you that are just like,
have I been smiling?
Man, it's just a pleasure, man. Cause that's like when that shit is energy, man, and you're sitting there seeing that. It's like, wow, this is awesome, and your teeth are very white, which also makes it, honestly, man, if you had yellow teeth, maybe not so much, but
they're not real. They're not real, man.
Doesn't matter. I don't care. They look great.
What is the biggest change, man? I don't know. That's a really good question. I think everyone says they're the same. I read an interview with, who's that guy from 30 Seconds to Mars? What's that kid's name? Jared Leto?
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. The actor.
Right? Actor. I know he's probably a complete weirdo and whatever, but I liked what he said once. He's like, when you became famous, did you change? And he's like, no, everyone around me did.
Interesting.
And not to say that I ever became, I still never think of the word famous or being like that. I don't like that. Even my daughter's like, are you, I'm like, I'm not famous if you have to ask if you're famous or not. You're not,
Yeah.
But this, the idea is I hang out with people who are successful and famous. I do know them, and we do travel, and I'm on TV from time to time. Right. But, I definitely think that people taking pictures of you, even if they're just like your cousin, is kind of funny, things that are different where you're like, no, and I think I really downplay my role when I'm with family and hanging out as much as I can, just because I really am embarrassed by a lot of it, more than not embarrassed of what I do, but just the idea of, I hate when people make a big deal out of stuff. And my mom was like the biggest fan in a great way in the world. I just feel like it was the first thing out of her mouth all the time, like, well, Jerry's playing here, Jerry's doing, Jerry's on Ellen this night, Jerry. For my 8 other siblings, they were like, they would always go, Jerry, just make fun of me. And I was like, what can I do? I can't, I'm trying to downplay it as much as I can. But, they were happy. It made them happy. So it was kind of a hard, how do you do both? How do you be humble and arrogant? You can't be arrogant. You just got to say.
Definitely you can't be arrogant.
No, but it is funny. I really don't know that I've changed that much. I know having my own kids has made me, it's take all of it away. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. I just want to hang out with my kids. I want to laugh with them. I want them to be good people. I want them to make great friends and just have like incredible experiences. The music is just it's a part of me, but it's not me,
That's important. Sense? Yeah, that's really important. I think who you are and what you do, it's tough to keep that separate for anybody, but I think especially as a creative person, it's because you're bearing your soul in what you do.
It's still a part. Like I definitely, I love movies. I like drinking. I like to do a lot of things. Music, I've just been super lucky that I've been had some success at it, where I've been able to do these other things.
But luck is a byproduct of hard work, right? So there you go.
Luck is a product of design. Is that what it is? I think that
luck is something about it's a byproduct of hard work or something like that. And being I don't know.
I had a good friend of mine's dad would say stuff to me all the time like that. He was really good at that. My dad was great at a lot of things, but not like the best financial advice kind of guy, So it was really fun to have another dad pulled me aside a few times and said, "Hey, man, he was a stockbroker, and I remember him saying there are only 3 ways to get rich in life." Because he's seen it. He has multi-million-dollar clients, right? And he's like, there's only 3 ways. You are born with it. Or wait, what did he say? You're born with it. You marry it, or you work your fucking ass off.
You marry it.
There's only 3 ways to get rich.
Yeah.
You're born with it. You marry it, or you work your fucking ass off. Yeah. And I love the idea of it. Like, there's no easy path other than that.
No, that's bullshit. Yeah.
Either you're going to work hard, or those are the other 2 ways. You're not just going to get rich laying around.
Whenever someone says that, did you ever see this video of the Wu-Tang Clan as financial planners? Just go look it up. It's fucking hilarious.
I think that's the thing.
Diversify your bonds. Yeah.
My any success that I've had is completely overshadowed by the fact that I live in the Bay Area. Okay.
Oh, so God, yeah.
I just want to let you know.
I keep reading about that. Yeah.
Everyone seems to think like, man, my neighbors. There are people everywhere that there are hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting around. These people make so much money that I had these venture capitalist friends where my kids went to school together, so that we would be friends with the dads. They're like, "Oh, here's our little musician friend. Here's this guy who let's have him come and play poker with us just because he's funny to hang out with." They don't give 2 shits about anything that I do, other than it's just an interesting person at the table. You know what I mean? Like, the success is beyond
the numbers that they're dealing with are not
the number that they're like, "Oh, that's cute." Nice. Yeah. You guys sold how many records? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's different. It's way different. Like a pharmaceutical company that my friend worked for, they make, $60 billion a year or whatever they make. The music industry doesn't even make 10, the whole industry. Yeah. You can't, and then you're just one player, one musician in the industry making, But the Bay Area is a really great place to live. I love the politics. I love everything about it. I like the people. I like the food. I like everything. But man, it can kick your butt. It can. That's why everybody left. I'm the only guy living there now from the band. Everything will get you there. It's wonderful, but here's my jellyfish quote. Eden is only for millionaires, right?
Eden is for millionaires.
Or I think it's only Eden is for millionaires. It's a line in Jellyfish song, and I never understood it, but it's kind of like, it talks about San Francisco. It's a song called Russian Hill. And it is I cross a bridge of gold, and it's all these things about only Eden is for millionaires. And I never knew it because I lived in Cleveland at the time. It's such an interesting thing that this album took me to California,
Yeah.
And then I ended up meeting those guys, and they're all wonderful. They're really it's just a funny thing. You don't get to meet people in life, that you think you're going to meet, and then you end up hanging out with them.
Man, but you got to turn the crank to make it happen, and you did.
I think so. I got lucky, but it's all about timing and showing up, because you get the call, and if you're not ready, you're not going to be there, and it is, you have to, just do the homework before you get there if you can. Cause I had an Uber driver the other day take me to the city. I was going to go watch a band with my brother, and the guy's like, he's from Peru or something, and he's like, "I want to bring my brother up, and do you think there's enough work in the United States to be a sound engineer?" And I was like, "Here's a 10. You're gonna be fine, And I said, it's always about the guy who's standing there while the other guy can't make it. The guy flakes. There's always professional people and talented people are flakes. Most of them,
a lot of them, yeah, a lot of them for sure.
Not in a bad way, just meaning even if you're 10 minutes late, there's someone else there's
someone else willing to be 15 minutes early, man.
Right, and I try to tell my son, and I was just like, these are the only things that matter. Just show up, be on time. It's the most important thing.
Totally.
And just even the fact that you called when you said I was there waiting for that, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that I'm right, because I kept looking at the clock.
No, you're totally fine.
Are we doing this today?
Yeah, no, you're on it.
But it's this idea of being on time. Speaking of on time, I'm on my way to the studio right now.
Let's do this. Hey, man, everybody, Jerry, thank you, man. I really enjoyed talking with you. Man, I look forward to seeing you in Tampa.
You're awesome. I should have asked more questions. I'm terrible.
You're totally awesome, man. This is good. Everybody, come check out Jerry. Train is doing a major tour of the States. and the planet, I believe, after that. So no matter where you live, on Earth or off, come see them. Everybody, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks so much to Jerry Becker for spending time with us. I really appreciate it and enjoyed your story, man. Everybody, make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.